Mr. Wade here. So, my next story over here at the Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. Basically, it was about a lady. A lady named is Carolyn Ruth Killsby. Now, who was she? Now, I was looking for her headstone that her husband and her children placed up here at the cemetery. And she's what they're known as a cenotaph. I learned that last night. Now, a cenotaph is a body that is not found, but yet there is a headstone that's placed in remembrance. So it's called a cenotaph. So it was basically placed here in remembrance of their mom and his wife. Now, the story I'm breaking down is that, of course, I could not find that headstone. I looked by every tree because on Find a Grave, it shows a tree and it's placed right by it. But yet, Mr. Wade didn't find it. Okay, so back to the story. So basically, this was back in 1990s. Her and her husband got into a bad argument. Now, what married couple doesn't? But they got into an argument, right? And basically, he went to work and she went to work. She was working as a medical tech. And I don't know what kind of job the husband had, but he went to work as well. So the next evening, after their bad argument, they was planning on having a dinner date. So at the end of the shift, the husband got a call from his brother. So he went to his brother's house to have a few drinks to chill. He ended up getting too drunk, couldn't go home, so he left a message to the wife at the house. Next day, around 6 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, he finally goes home and realizes that his wife is not at home and the answer machine has not been answered, so the wife never got the message. So he got paranoid and called her job, found out she never went to work. So he rides around Portland area and actually Vancouver, and he actually ends up finding her car parked at a restaurant/club. So he goes to the restaurant, right? He goes in. After he finds the car, he looks in the car, he don't see a purse, but he finds a letter. The letter states, "I want to go from here to LA." That's weird. Okay, he shuts the door. He goes up in the restaurant, right? So he's inside the restaurant and he asks people, "Have you seen this lady?" They say, "Yeah, I did. I saw her last night. She was sitting here. She was drinking a lot. She was dancing by herself and she was kind of belligerent. And yeah, I did. And actually, she ended up leaving with a guy later on that night." Now, this guy, he was coming up to us telling us that that lady that's dancing by herself, oh, this is going to be the death night of her. A death night of her. Anyways, break it down to you. She ended up leaving with him around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. About 1:30 in the morning, some nearby people overhear some screaming. So they called police, 911. And actually, they saw this guy here named Dennis was walking around with a white t-shirt on with some blood on his t-shirt. So, later on that evening, cops came to the bar. Husband was fanatic. He got called there as well. So, they questioned the guy, Mr. Dennis, and Dennis stated that, "Oh, I walked out to the car. She was kind of drunk. This guy pulled up. We got to arguing. I left. He snatched her by the hair and took off with her." But yet, the cops decided to go ahead and check his vehicle. He had stuff missing in his vehicle. He had seat covers missing. He had stuff missing. He also had a burnt cigarette hole in his passenger seat. He was missing stuff, and later on they found blood stains in the vehicle. Break it down to you. This guy went as far to say that he didn't do it, that her husband did it. So you know how it is when police arrest a person on a murder case. They always end up going and getting the husband first or spouse anyways, thinking they are the actual culprit. Well, he found out that he was not. 2 days later, they found out the cops were looking for Mr. Dennis. Mr. Dennis took off. He left the state of Oregon. Well, actually the state of Vancouver. So Mr. Dennis left the state of Vancouver, Washington, right? Okay, so the night of everything going on, this one guy comes out and says, hey, I'm gonna post his name right here. I know that guy, he's my uncle. Yeah, he went to jail for murder of my mom. And lately, he's been out on parole. They gave him probationary, I guess, after 10 years. That's my uncle. Okay, so Dennis takes off. Now, he's gone for, I'll say, a few days, right? So this ties in with my story. So Mr. Dennis Smith, he took off after he heard they're looking for him. Now, since the age of 9 years old, he's always been in some criminal activity, and he went to prison for a lady named Patricia. Now, who's that? Now, if you look at my stories before this, I went to find a grave of a Patricia Johnson, right? So Dennis Johnson, not Smith, Dennis Johnson is her brother. Now, back in the day, Patricia Johnson was murdered, right? I told you about Dennis. Dennis is her brother. He later admitted that he strangled her to death and he got life, but got out on parole in 10 years. So he's a suspect of this right here. He's a suspect of getting Carolyn, right? So that's why he took off. So Dennis took off, changed his name to David Sanborn. David Sanborn, he changed his name to. So this is like a while after the case. Now, how they found him, there was a forensic file TV show on, and two guys of his friends were watching it with him, and they noticed that this is some similarities of this guy on TV they talking about to David Sanborn, who used to be Dennis, right? So he got nervous and left. They called the authorities, and authorities caught up with him. He was in Miami, Florida when they caught him. So they caught him, he tried to run, they captured him, took him to the precinct, and when they questioned him, this man tried to grab one of the cops' gun, and eventually the other cops shot him in the neck. And then they brought him over here to Washington. So he ended up with 70 plus years inside the penitentiary. He was telling the cops, detectives, wrong areas of finding the Caroline's body. So he ended up hanging himself inside the prison. Yep, that's the story of Caroline. And I hoped I would have found her grave, but I didn't. Wow. Whew. So that breaks down on the story that I was bringing to you from Tombstone Whispers about Carolyn. Ruth Kilsby. Now, all her photos are up on this video here. I was just rambling at the mouth trying to give you guys the story as Mr. Wade does. So I hope you guys enjoyed this unfortunate story of a brother killing his own sister and trying to get away with that, but end up confessing to that he strangled her. And then turned around and was in prison before for killing Patricia. Now, I didn't tell you this part. Now, the bad part is this. The nephew of the guy that killed his mom, of Dennis, when Dennis paroled after 10 years, where did he go? He went to the parents' house. And who was there? His nephew, the son of his sister he murdered. Wow. Imagine that, seeing your uncle all in your face and knowing he the one that killed your mom. That's crazy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story. Tombstone Whispers, Mr. Wade, Mrs. Crime. Stay tuned for a lot more coming from Tombstone Whispers. Till then, click button, hit that like, and subscribe. Thank you all subscribers out there. More videos coming soon.